You are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating talk radio. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Tell me true, what's a heart like mine supposed to do?
All right. Well, you got to listen up. 1-877-Doc-Dahlia. That's what a heart like yours is supposed to do. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So hope everybody had a good weekend. Got a lot to get to today, a lot of news. But I went to, just want to open with just a quick thought. I went to my friend's memorial this weekend in Denver, Colorado. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the trip, but the memorial was really, really interesting because this doctor who I went to medical school with, sat next to in class and did rotations with and did call with, and when I think of medical school, I think of him because I just spent so much time with him. Never a bad thing to say about him. Just his sister, Darcy, and her family did an amazing memorial. And I'm at this memorial, and I mean, it's packed, and you can't, you can't even fit everybody in the tent. I mean, it expanded outside. Luckily, the weather was beautiful, but it was packed with all these people who loved him and cared about him. You know, and I was there with a couple of my friends from medical school, and, you know, you're hearing all these beautiful things said about him. And, you know, you do start to think about, well, what are people going to say, you know, at your memorial? And I don't think I want to know. And it's interesting because, you know, I really like the idea also of honor parties where if somebody is, let's say, you know, getting a diagnosis that's terminal, you know, to have the memorial or they call it a live funeral, which I don't really like. I don't like the idea of that being called, but an honor party celebrating somebody's life while they're still alive, so they could listen. And I told my family, I go, I might want that. This way I get to enjoy the bar, I get to enjoy the food, and I get to hear what everybody says. You know, and everybody thinks, no, you know, after you die, you know, God forbid, you get to, you know, be there and watch him. I don't think God's going to give me a day off to go and watch my memorial or my funeral. You know, I mean, I always thought I'd get to look down. I mean, if I'm in heaven, or I might be looking up at the memorial. Who knows? You know, where God's going to put me. But I really don't see him giving me the day off. He's going to be like, no. You're still onboarding. And I'm like, come on. What? No. You need to follow the rules. You don't follow rules. So if you're up here now with me and the angels, you got some onboarding to do. I want you to go through every single video, take every single test. And I'm going to be like, but they're talking about me down there. Why can't I watch? No, you get to work because you're not ready yet. And in fact, you failed some of your online testing, so you got to keep doing it. So my worry is I'm going to be doing a lot of, you know, onboarding new employee videos. So I won't get to see it. But, you know, I'm listening to all these wonderful things, you know, being, you know, talked about to, you know, my friend, Dr. Mark Spencer, who was amazing. Patients loved him. Staff loved him. Family loved him. Friends loved him. Animals loved him. There were a lot of animals there, too. And I'm like, is anybody else thinking about, you know, in making sure that they are touching everybody's lives, you know, like he did? I mean, am I doing that? No, I'm not doing that. Am I calling, you know, my friends, telling them, you know what, I love you. You're amazing. You know, you really meant a lot to me. Did I do that with him? No, I should have. If I would have known he was going to be gone, I all this stuff I feel I would have said, but I didn't because I'm stupid. I mean, we're stupid. We just go about our day. This is why I always tell Daniel, you're awesome. You're awesome. My producer's awesome, whatever. I just want him to know now, today, he's awesome. You know, tell your family they're awesome. And I know compliments could start sounding old, and I'm not fishing for compliments, okay? I know I talked about what would my memorial be. Yeah, listen, don't pull something out of your, you know, if you don't feel it. So I'm not, you know, don't be doing that. I don't really anticipate a lot of positivity. And I definitely don't anticipate the crowd at mine. I mean, unless, of course, that's why I told my husband, you know, make sure there's, you know, a good bar and good food. So at least there's some semblance of a showing. But are you think nobody wants to think about the passing. Nobody wants to think about their next chapter, and I don't think it's over. Even though I'm a doctor and everybody says, isn't it like when you go for anesthesia and everything's all black and it's no, I really feel like there's an afterlife because before I knew my friend died and I thought he was still alive, obviously, he visited me in one of my dreams. He was just kind of standing there and I'm like, what are you doing here? I know I need to talk to you, but I'll talk to you later. And I didn't know that was, he visited me that night or within that time frame, and that was or the next day, and it was I really do believe my father's visited me. I really do believe that in the afterlife there's a whole nother life that you're living. So if for those of you that just kind of, you get up and you go to work and you do your thing and, you tell your family, you just talk to your family and do you really reach out to your friends? Do you really talk to your colleagues? Do you really talk to people you work with? I have now started to, and I'm not perfect, but what I've tried to do to overcome a lot of my, shall we say, non-positive traits is I tell people I appreciate them. When they do something, I let them know how much I appreciate them. I walk by a cop. I appreciate you, for being here. I walk by security. Thank you for being here. Walk by a priest. Walk by tell them we appreciate what you do. Let people know they're appreciated. Don't wait till after they pass. And for those of you having family members who you're thinking, they might be leaving soon. How do we let them know, how much we love them? Maybe do an honor party or a celebration of life. Don't, for the love of God, call it a live funeral. I can't stand that term. But call it a celebration of life and let them be bathed in all these friends and love and hear the things that'll, and it might actually add to their life. Now, I know some of you are like, oh my gosh, I got family members that really need to go. Okay, forget what I said. Just it'll make them feel good. Okay, it'll make them feel good. But do that. And it's interesting because some people say, should I have a funeral for a family member or a memorial? The funeral is a much different process because the body's there. You're there for the burial or the cremation, and you're really saying goodbye to them. You're transitioning their leaving. The memorial could allow a lot more flexibility, like I said, with the bar and with the with the decoration, and it allows a lot more love, tears, laughter. So I love the idea of memorials too. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-Dr. Dahlia, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I'm seeing a lot of stupid stuff, all right, as it pertains to the Democratic Party, as it pertains to some of the Republicans, as it pertains to what we see online. And it looks like people kind of have forgotten why we have Israel. Little baby sliver of geography among the vast Middle Eastern, in multiple countries, little sliver of land Israel has as a state. And you see with the Democrats with the recent vote to not fund Israel, where half of them said no, the other half said yes. And I think there's a kind of a big confusion as to why Israel exists and why Palestine didn't keep their state that they were given in 1947 with the UN resolution. With the it was a partition that gave both the Palestinians and Israelis a homeland. So Israel, Israelis, Palestinians, Arabs have been living in the vast Middle East for centuries, and whether you are Catholic, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Israel has very significant meaning. Now, and as well as many other parts, Mount Sinai is in Egypt. So there's historical significance all over the area. And currently in Israel, at least 20% who live there are Arabs. Israel has been living among Arabs and among Palestinians for centuries. The reason why Israel was allowed to finally be declared a state along with Palestinians is because of the Holocaust. My family had to escape Russia. My family always had to be escaping running. They were always, I'm even surprised that there's anybody left in my family. So when, my family had to escape Russia and then had to go to Romania and then had to go to Austria in the early 1900s. They just had to keep going from country to country to find a place where people wouldn't kill them because they're a Jew. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that the family you're born into marks you for death. Yeah, it's frightening. So then the Holocaust happens. And again, Jews have to flee, and they found safety. They found safety within Israel, which wasn't declared a state till 1948. The main reason, the whole reason why Israel was made is to finally give a little sliver of an area of protection for Jews to not be slaughtered. That simple. The Palestinians are living there also. Arabs are living there. You got Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. The small, tiny amount of Israel that Israel got. Is it enough compared to all the other land? Nobody complained. They were like, we'll take what we could get. The Palestinian homeland, I believe their geography was even bigger, but they rejected it. They said no, because if we take it, then they didn't like they didn't like the deal. And so I it's a shame because we would have two states right now. Right? But Israel had to exist because that's where when people will say, but the Holocaust is never going to happen again. People aren't going to hate Jews. People aren't going to be killing Jews. They're not going to be coming across, and murdering babies and beheading babies and throwing babies into ovens and raping them and taking women, and while they're raping them, shooting them in the back of the head. That just happened on October 7th, a couple years back. Israel is the only place right now, especially when you look at what has been happening to Jews. Look at the Catholic school that was shot up, last year. I mean, what there is religious persecution all over the world. I'm grateful that America gives us a lot of protections, but the state of Israel is technically the only place that Jews could feel like they're not going to get slaughtered. That's why it exists. And then there's advantages. So for America to go, you know what? You're in a good position, because when you look at the vast Middle East and you look at some of these terror cells that are operating in Lebanon, like Hezbollah or Hamas in Gaza, or what Iran is doing, or even though Iran is supposed to be Iran's huge in terms of geography and in terms of numbers, but they know how to infiltrate all the other Arab countries. America's like, you guys pose a big advantage for us. And so there has been this symbiotic relationship from intelligence, from tech, from science, from and because Israel is also the homeland for at least 20% of the population are Arab, Christians, Kurds, so many other different nationalities. The LGBTQ AI plus community has a home there, as opposed to they don't in a lot of the other surrounding countries. It's a beacon of safety. And so Israel, when people say, well, Israel shouldn't be existing, Israel, excuse me. I mean, do you not understand the history? And the funny thing is when you go to Israel, and I've been there multiple times, the Jews and Arabs live together peacefully. Arabs are using the hospitals there. I mean, it's not, I know the media wants to make it look like, everybody hates each other's guts, but they don't. And so, Hamas taking over Gaza is horrible. I want Palestinians free from Hamas. I wish they had taken the homeland and state that they were, which was big, and I think it was within the land now of Jordan. Beautiful, the Jordan Valley. There was a lot of, but and again, if it didn't work for them at the time, it didn't work for them at the time. But now there's all this pressure to give them a homeland within, and you're thinking, okay, well, will Saudi Arabia give some land? Will Iran give land? Will Iraq give land? Will Egypt give land? No. It has to be in that area, and I get everybody feels like they have a right to the area. But when you hear people say, yeah, we shouldn't be helping Israel, we shouldn't be, no, that's wrong. Not to mention when you go and you see the historical sites, the River Jordan, the sepulcher of Christ, the where Christ was buried, where the wall was, when you look at all the historical sites, the world should want that protected. And not want bombs and things being done to it. And not want Iran to keep calling for nuking the area. So you're going to kill Arabs also? You're going to kill Iranians that live in Israel? You're going to kill, what? So I'm looking at the Democratic Party, and they're really struggling now. And I wish they weren't, because the socialists have used the Democratic Party as their bolster when they're supposed to be their own political party, but they've been able to invade the modern Democrats, and the Democrats are like, wait a second, Israel helps us. We need Israel, and Israel needs us. This is a relationship we've had. We keep, this is what we need to do. Israel has to make sure they exist. Otherwise, we have to deal with every time every few decades, somebody decides to kill Jews. Look at what's happening in Nigeria and the Christians. Bring the Christians to Israel so they can be safe, or bring them to America. This sort of mayhem and chaos and blood and carnage happens sadly across the globe, and there's very few places where you can have freedom and peace as much as you can. And so you're watching the Democrats are imploding. In fact, the Michigan primary is happening, and their socialist candidate had, I guess, been represented by that podcaster who said, Hamas had its reasons or supported that, what Hamas did, the murder and carnage. This is sick. This is disgusting. And, if Israel is keeping terrorism in check, yes, America is going to want Israel, and they're going to need Israel. And it's the helicopter pad for America in the Middle East. It's the tiniest. It's one of the tiniest countries. It's so small compared to the vast Middle East, but it does provide some safety for Jews in case another Holocaust happens again, or Russian pogroms, or whatever. And it's so there is no way you're going to convince me that it's waste, that we're losing money on the it's no, trust me, America gets ROI on that one. Definite return on investment. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com.
Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So this was definitely something that has caused a lot of buzz. So we're going to talk about it next. And yes, I am making more videos of my show. I hope you guys do have a chance to watch on Facebook. We will try to eventually get them on TikTok, but I think with TikTok there's like a limit to how long the shows could be. So we're trying to do that, and I'll try to add them to YouTube. So if you guys can catch a show, if not, at least listen to the show on Spreaker and iHeart and Apple Tunes and Talk Media Network and all that. Okay, so Pete Hegseth has instituted a mandatory testosterone screening, and this has caused a whole bunch of buzz. You have some people going, well, it's about time people are getting access to testosterone screens, and you have others saying, wait, what if they don't need the testosterone? What's going on here? So Pete Hegseth has directed the Pentagon, and Pete Hegseth is Secretary of War, to now begin mandatory testosterone deficiency screening for active duty and reserve personnel who are over age 30. Nobody is mandated to take testosterone, but as part of the physical that gets done for our active duty, testosterone hasn't been added to that. So he wants testosterone done. He thinks that, he thinks, I'm still finishing my breakfast, that if we identify testosterone deficiency, we can help these individuals who could be struggling in the military. Now, whenever you hear mandatory, you're like, ugh. Yeah, you get a little bit of, me, I'm not a big, large government or government rules, and I like more independence with that. But I have felt that in terms of our guidelines, I believe the American Academy of the Endocrinology societies and have recommended against testosterone screening. I have found that I underscreened individuals. And I'm a little biased towards, why I think we are limiting a lot of access that needs to be done, because nobody would have found, my father could have probably been alive today if somebody screened his testosterone sooner. Now, there was Dr. Donald Wicker. For those of you that, might have grown up in northern Nevada, Donald Wicker was just an icon. He was old farm doc who did everything. And my father wasn't feeling well. And so he ran a blood test on him, and his sugar was a little, off or whatever, but his testosterone was low. That led them to look deeper, and they found out that my dad had a much deeper diabetes than what would have been let on. Why? Because the testosterone was low. Men don't go through just a menopause like women do. Men could also have low testosterone if they have other issues. And it turns out that my father, because he died at only age 62, had much more significant diabetes, low testosterone, and arterial clogging of the arteries, that if it wasn't for Dr. Wicker running his testosterone, this wouldn't have opened this all up. This is why I said Pfizer has saved millions of men's lives, because of the Viagra coming out. And the rules were, no, you can't write the Viagra for the wife to give to the husband. The husband has to come in, because women were coming in saying, my husband wants it. So, nah, they got to come in so I could check their heart. Because if they're having poor blood flow to the penis, they could be having poor blood flow to the heart. So I want to make sure it's not that the Viagra is going to give them a heart attack, but if they're having erection issues, that could mean they're having heart issues. So when I detect low testosterone in a man, I just don't think about their sex drive. I'm like, what other process is messing with their ability to produce such a vital testosterone hormone? And so many of the guidelines are not very big on screenings. Should anybody with a thyroid issue get a thyroid ultrasound? It should people be screened for aortic aneurysm? Well, if you're a male who smoked, you can. But I don't believe if you're a female that you get the screening. And so they do this because they want to save money. They want to make sure that people aren't getting false positives. I appreciate what they're trying to do. They don't want men getting radical prostatectomies because their PSA is just a little high and the prostate cancer is slow growing, and they could live still very long with their prostate and their slow prostate cancer. I get why there's some of these guidelines, but I really think that we are under screening men for a lot. But by the way, not only are we not screening men's testosterone well enough, we're also not screening them for osteoporosis. Men fall and break bones too. Why aren't we being more aggressive with their osteoporosis? I'm glad we're doing it for women, but I can't tell you how many men were like, no, my doctor won't order it for me because I'm a man. I go, you could get osteoporosis too. Let's get that checked out. So Pete Hegseth, even though his motives might be, look, I want to, reduce, fatigue. If somebody has low testosterone, how could they feel at their best? So I understand his motives are more for, physical acuity and having somebody, being very, very efficient. I'm glad that somebody's bringing up, should men look at their testosterone a little bit more? Now, even though we don't have guidelines saying everybody needs to be screened, if you have diabetes, if you have depression, if you have anxiety, if you have insomnia, if you have weight issues, if you have coronary artery disease, I think you should be getting your testosterone screened. So I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I think more men need to be screened. Now, then what happens with testosterone replacement therapy? Well, there's many options. There's risks with testosterone replacement therapy. So we don't want everybody going on testosterone. There could be risks. And so I would always recommend that somebody be evaluated from a prostate standpoint, from a, genital urinary standpoint, before they go on a long-term replacement issue. And the reason why is I wanted somebody to thoroughly figure out, why is your testosterone dropping? In a healthy male, your testosterone should not be dropping too low. You might not make as much as when you were, 16, but your levels should still be, it's not like menopause where women's estrogen just plummets within a few years' time. Although mine happened over 10 years and it was just absolutely miserable. But he wants to maximize mission readiness and all that, and so he's getting a lot of heat for that. But the Endocrine Society says your testosterone level, you got a nice level, anywhere from 264 to 916 nanograms per deciliter. Those are for healthy, non-obese men, age 19 to 39. When you're older, we might see, that you drop. And if how I was taught is if you drop below 400, we need to start thinking about something. In fact, the American Urological Association says if you drop below 300, we need to consider you deficient. Now, why aren't we screening more men for this? Well, because we think that hypogonadism or issues with your testicles or issues with your sexual dysfunction, is rare, and that's why we need to screen. As I said, my father's issues were much deeper, and if somebody would have tested him earlier, he might still be alive today, because that low testosterone, because Dr. Wicker was such a good doctor from a knowledge standpoint, tuned him into, we got to check his heart deeper. We got to do this. Now, my father didn't want to do the testing. And he was stubborn. He moved. And when he moved away, he didn't really work with his doctor. I'm sure his doctor recommended it. And then he ends up dying of a heart attack. Because, my father was stubborn. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I don't want to take the Lipitor. My cholesterol good. Leave me alone. Going to hurt my liver. And he just was very stubborn. So, if you are having, other medical issues, talk to your medical provider if a testosterone check is worth it. And I think we're under screening a lot of men. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive this stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
And we are back on the Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So many of us saw the video this morning of a man in custody after setting fire outside of 26 Federal Plaza in Lower Manhattan. Police say a man armed with a collection of weapons started a fire outside of the Federal Plaza building today. Officials said 2 people had minor injuries, and the incident is being investigated as a possible act of terrorism. Video showed him pouring some kind of flammable liquid outside the building and then setting it on fire. The flames quickly spread, but they were put out before they reached the building where immigrants are processed and the FBI and ICE officers are located, according to ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Police say the person is believed to be a protester with a history of anti-ICE activity. Officers quickly secured the area, and the suspect was taken into custody. Now, authorities said it was a makeshift incendiary device made up of fireworks and a flammable liquid. The building went into a shelter-in-place out of an abundance of caution. And then you see in a separate video, officials gathered around a collection of weapons reportedly found in his possession, including a pellet gun, some sort of a knife, and a hammer. And then there was a cart that the suspect wheeled with him that had fireworks and airsoft rifles, and a sign saying "ICE off our streets." Ridiculous. It's listen, you might not be happy with the immigration policy, and a lot of people don't like our immigration policy. They probably then don't like Canada's and Japan's and Germany's and everybody else's, because their immigration policy is even stricter. But really, you want to kill somebody, you want to hurt somebody in the name of ICE? No, you're doing this because you want to hurt people. You're trying to use ICE as an excuse so you could get some people going, yeah, you're stopping immigration. Yay. No. Okay. We're not stupid. Zohran Mamdani, mayor of New York City, said what occurred outside 26 Federal Plaza this morning was deeply disturbing. He says, "I'm relieved no one was seriously injured and that a suspect is in custody. My team is in touch with the NYPD, and we will support the federal investigation, and the administration will continue to ensure that every New Yorker is safe in their city." So right now, the FBI New York Joint Terrorism Task Force is investigating the incident. And again, it would help if the mayors would calm down the rhetoric. I mean, it's frustrating to me, because the immigration situation is fairly simple. Now, if you listen to Bill Clinton, if you listen to Obama, if you listen to Bush and Trump, and you got the legal immigration pathway, which is a very, very generous legal immigration pathway. And then you have people bypassing that. Some people say, well, they get a mulligan because Biden opened the borders and Biden let them in. Not entirely, because there was still a court date for those people that actually did sign. If you didn't go through customs and you didn't get your court date and you snuck over, that's illegal. If you got in and you got a court date, but you didn't go to that court date, or you didn't follow the rules, you get deported. You always did. Whether it was 1920, whether it was 1847, you would get deported. In Canada, if you read their rules, if you at all don't follow their rules or fill out the paperwork correctly or mislead them or not show up to your court date, you're out. But you don't see people setting fires to buildings in Canada. Why? Well, because they don't have the millions that got, that they don't have as many illegal immigrants in their country that they know of. I mean, we saw it happen on video. It's overwhelming. And we could very easily rectify this by, okay, guys, just like a DMV. How does the DMV do it? Well, you go in there, you take a number, and you go through the process. If somebody decides to run up and go to the front of the line, if they're having a medical emergency, or if it's an emergency, and rare, but it's an emergency, all right, that person may get, some assistance. But if it's somebody trying to cut the line, the front desk says, sorry, you got to pick a number and you got to go have a seat and wait in line. If they refuse or they keep trying to cut in line, security walks over to them and says, sorry, we got to have you take a number. If they still refuse, security escorts them out of the building. So if the DMV has it down, we should be able to do it also. All right, you're here, You got here through Biden somehow. Did you follow the rules? You didn't follow the rules, you're going to get deported. But you could take a number and you could get in line. But you're going to have to go back to where you were waiting in that line. My family waited 20 years before they finally got to come to America. And then when they were granted the opportunity to citizenship, they did everything by the book. Filled out, their paperwork properly, learned the language, studied for the exam, passed the citizenship exam. They didn't get married. They didn't do any of that stuff to try to cut. They did what they could to make sure that they were legit so that then their wedding later was going to be legitimate. And so I think my father married my mom in 68, but he came to this country in 60, I think 66? No. I'm sorry. Yeah. I forget how but the family got here and they went through the whole process first. So what we need to decide is who is legally here. That's, did their court date, did whatever. And then they're going through the process and taking their class, etc. And those who didn't, well, then just like any other country, they get deported. But we can offer them, again, you could get back in line because the people in line are getting ticked off. And to see that somebody wants to kill and hurt people, there were 2 mass shootings in Minneapolis. This was over the weekend. This is pretty scary stuff. In less than 24 hours, 2 mass shootings in Minneapolis. 14 people wounded, 1 dead. This one of them was shortly before 12:30 a.m. Sunday. 9 people were wounded by gunfire outside a Minneapolis nightclub in the Uptown neighborhood called Uptown. 2 men critically injured. And then a second mass shooting occurred later on Sunday in the 1800 block of Nicollet Avenue S, where 5 people were hit by gunfire and 1 person died. They don't believe there's any connection between the 2 shootings. No arrests have been announced in connection with either shooting. First one occurred outside the Rain nightclub near Hennepin Avenue. And then there was a large crowd waiting entry. And we've seen this a lot, where people outside a nightclub get shot. In fact, my son, I believe, was in Austin. He came a couple days after. Oh, no, a shooting happened a couple days after he left. And he said, Mom, I was right near that nightclub. You all stand outside. Everybody stands outside. And it looks like you could be sitting ducks because somebody could just drive right up and shoot. And you're forced to stand in line. Trust me, I've done that, where I'm waiting for the bouncer to let me in. And you stand in line sometimes for hours to get into these nightclubs. But the whether they figure out better security for that or not, we still have problems with individuals who are, by the way, in areas that have strict gun laws that are still able to do incendiary devices and fireworks and weapons and fires and guns. We have sick people in this world that they don't care about the cause. They just want to hurt somebody. And they're using the cause as an excuse. We saw that with Israel. People were protesting, saying from the river to the sea, all over college campuses, because they thought Israel was murdering, millions of people and whatever. And then now you have Iran known. I mean, we have witnesses saying this is what they're doing. Not one protest. Really? You're just using whatever cause you want as excuse to hate. But people are getting hurt. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.